Good morning, big kids. Miss Patton here. Today we're going to be reading Stone Soup, and today we're going to be focusing on the middle of the story. Before we get started, do you remember what happened in the beginning of the story? Let's go ahead and look at our pictures to help us remember. So I remember the soldiers were walking down the path, and the villagers heard them and saw them coming, and the villagers hid all their food. They were saying how soldiers are so hungry, and they hid their food. All right, so let's read on and see what happens. The soldiers stopped first at the house of Paul and Francois. "Good evening to you," they said. "Could you spare a bit of food for 3 hungry soldiers? We have had no food for ourselves for 3 days," said Paul. Francois made a sad face. "It has been a poor harvest." The 3 soldiers went on to the house of Albert and Louise. "Could you spare a bit of food, and have you some corner where we could sleep for the night?" "Oh no," said Albert. "We gave all we could spare to the soldiers who came before you." "Our beds are full," said Louise. At Vincent and Marie's, the answer was the same. It had been a poor harvest, and all the grains must be kept for seed. So it went all through the village. Not a peasant had any food to give away. They all had good reasons. One family had used their grain for feed. Another had an old sick father to care for. All had too many mouths to feed. The villagers stood in the street and sighed. They looked as hungry as they could. The 3 soldiers talked together. Then the first soldier called out, "Good people." The peasants drew near. "We are 3 hungry soldiers in a strange land. We have asked you for food, and you have no food. Well then, we'll have to make stone soup." The peasants stared. Stone soup? That would be something to know about. "First, we'll need a large iron pot," the soldier said. The peasants brought the largest pot they could find. "How else to cook enough?" "That's none too large," said the soldiers, "but it will do. And now, water to fill it, and a fire to heat it." It took many buckets of water to fill the pot. A fire was built on the village square, and the pot was set to boil. "And now, if you please, 3 round, smooth stones." Those were easy enough to find. The peasants' eyes grew round as they watched the soldiers drop the stones into the pot. So after the water was added, what was the first ingredient the soldiers asked for? 3 round, smooth rocks or stones. "Any soup needs salt and pepper," said the soldiers. As they began to stir, children ran to fetch salt and pepper. Stones like these generally make good soup. But oh, if there were carrots, it would be much better. "Why, I think I have a carrot or 2," said Francois. and off she ran. She came back with her apron full of carrots from the bin beneath the red quilt. A good stone soup should have cabbage, said the soldiers as they sliced the carrots into the pot. But no use asking for what you don't have. I think I could find a cabbage somewhere, said Marie, and she hurried home. Back she came with 3 cabbages from the cupboard under the bed. If only we had a bit of beef and a few potatoes, this soup would be good enough for a rich man's table. The peasants thought it over. They remembered their potatoes and the sides of beef hanging in the cellars. They ran to fetch them. A rich man's soup, and all from a few stones. It seemed like magic. So what else did they put into the pot besides the stones, big kids? Salt, pepper, carrots, cabbage, beef, and potatoes. So in your ready workbook, I want you to draw a picture of what happens in the middle. So what are they bringing to add to the soup? Maybe you want to show how they're bringing the beef and potatoes, like from this page. Or here, I see that cabbage is coming. And here I see the salt and the pepper and the carrots. So I want to see a picture of the middle of the story. What did they bring to add to the soup? All right, big kids, thanks for working hard. I hope you have a great day. Aloha.